everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create. Today we're going to continue working on the 8.5 by 8.5 mini album featuring the Magic of Oz from Graphic 45. And so we got through most of the album in the first couple of tutorials. I have the front, back, inside covers and outside covers to complete. And then there was one page that I didn't quite get finished in our last video. So I'm going to start there, which is actually at the very back of the book. Here we go. So this was the last page that I still needed to complete, and I walked in here without my glue, so I'll be right back. Hey, I'm back. I got my glue. Sorry about that, folks. Just getting going this morning, and I forgot a few things. All right, so I did also, while I was away, go ahead and make some cards, photo mats, and ephemera cards to go inside the pockets. And when I go through the walkthrough, I'll cover those in detail. Right now, I'm just going to finish getting these flaps covered, and then we're going to do the inside covers and the outside covers. All right. Let's scoot this over. We have kind of a hazy day today, so I don't have a lot of great light. So I'm using artificial light in addition to natural light too, so that I could work today. So I know some of you have had issues hearing me on my videos, and I have to say that that's on my list of things. My husband's doing some research to help me find a good microphone, so that hopefully will improve. Right now I just use the one on the phone, and when I sit down, I'm a little bit far from it, so it's a little hard to hear me. So I apologize for that, and I'll be making an investment in that space soon. In the meantime, I'll try to speak up. Also, whenever I'm covering any measurements, I know that's critical, so I do a banner across the bottom. So even if you can't hear me, you can see the measurements. And then, of course, you can adjust your volume. I do adjust the volume in an editing tool before I publish it, but I know it's still sometimes hard to hear. All right, just so you know, I'm aware of it, and I am trying to figure out what to do about it. Okay, I'm just getting a contrast sheet here so I can see the edges a little better, which is one of my cheats, and I think it's a good thing to have handy when you're building a book too. It just helps with some of the wear and tear on these old eyes. Okay. All right, that's in. Okay, so that's beautiful. And like I said, I had gone off and done a couple of these inserts. I'll go ahead and put those back, and we'll go over those in detail when I do the walkthrough. So now we're going to get started on the inside cover. And I decided to stay with the same theme, so it's going to be purple on purple. And the back side is going to be green on green, so it kind of starts with the witch and ends with the wizard. Is kind of how I decided to do it, which is a departure from what I normally do. I usually do matching paper on the inside covers. But the theme in this paper was so strong, I went with it. Okay, we'll get this down. I'm going to turn it so I can see these three edges and get a consistent border. It is directional, so I was checking to make sure that the words are all going the right direction. And they are. I'm expecting a guest appearance from my dog any minute now. She's actually out messing around in the garden with my husband. But usually she'll bring me some sort of prize or surprise. Like a rock or a branch. Okay, so that is in. So this, I know is a lot of purple. So I decided we're going to break that up with this bifold. And that's not part of the original build instructions. It's something I added just as I was designing this last night. So I'm going to adhere that directly to this page, and then I'm going to use this ribbon to keep it closed. So I'm going to apply the ribbon to the back of the card and then apply the card here. And that'll take just a moment. I'm using my grid to help me find a center line here. The card is 5 by 7. 5 by 7. So right around 3.5 is where I want my glue line, because I just want the bow to go across the center of the front. Sorry about that. My dog came running in here. I had to take care of something. She, of course, brought me a present, so I had to take care of that. Anyways, I'm back. So, like I was saying, I just put the ribbon around the midpoint, and then I'm going to glue the whole thing down, and I'm going to have it open the way a card traditionally opens, from the right side toward the left. So now I'm ready to put some glue on the whole thing. Making sure I have a dot on all the corners, and now I'm just going to center it on the page here. And that looks about right. I'm going to turn it slightly. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to hold that for a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and tie my bow, and I'll come back and trim the ribbon later. But that is going to be it for the inside cover. And just make sure those corners have gone down. Okay, and now we're going to do essentially the same thing on the back, just with the green paper. So this is the green paper we'll lay down, and here's the card. I'm gonna go ahead and have it open the same way, from opening from the right toward the left. All right, I got interrupted again. My puppy is being kind of high maintenance right now. Hopefully I'll get this done before I get another interruption. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're getting the screen paper down, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna put that card, the 5 by 7 bifold or card on the front. It'll be held closed with a ribbon. And I just found some ribbon in my stash that happened to go with the purple, and one that'll go with the green. An alternative, if you can't find matching ribbon, and this is what I was actually going to do in the first place, was use black. Because the album is made of black, you can always use a black ribbon. But it turns out I was out of seam binding, so I had to make do with what I had. Okay, which lots of us do, right? All right, I'm going to get this in. Right, so I'm getting this in, and then I think I'm going to have to take a break because my dog's just not having it at the moment. So I'm going to come back and add this, and then I've got some green ribbon that's going to lay on top of that, much like I did on the front. And I may do this offline since my dog's just not having it this morning. I'll get this in, and then I still have to do the outside covers. So I will be back shortly. Okay, while I was offline, I went ahead and adhered this to the page and tied a bow in my ribbons. And then I'll come back and trim these, but I don't have my ribbon scissors with me right now. But that is the front inside cover, the back inside cover. And as a reminder, these open. These are 5 by 7. And I did not put these in the cut instructions since they sit on top of the back mat. That's something you can add when you get to it. So I'll be back shortly to do the front cover and the back and spine. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on to the outside of the book. And I like to start with the back of the book so that when I'm working on the front, I don't have to later then turn it over to complete the back. So I'm going to start by laying down the back piece. And then we're going to move around to the front. We'll do the spine last. And I chose the poppies for the back because I just really love this pattern. I'm a huge fan of poppies. That's our state flower, California. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. and then let it dry for a few minutes, and then we'll turn it over and start on the front. Okay, there it is. A little excess glue here that I'm going to wipe off. Otherwise, it looks excellent. Okay, we're done with the back cover, so now we're going to swing around to the front. And I chose the signature page as the front, and I've trimmed it down to fit my 8.5 by 8.5. And I knew I was going to have to lose part of one of the characters, and so it was the Tin Man that kind of got chopped off. You'll have to kind of make a decision about what you want to be the centerpiece of your cover, because it doesn't fit neatly on the 8.5 by 8.5. Okay, I'm just getting some glue on here. Gosh, I'm having to stop every couple of minutes. My dog's really being a challenge today. Sorry about that. And we'll get this down, and then I'm going to show you what I fussy cut and layered to go on top, which I'm pretty happy with how that's looking at the moment. Okay, I'm going to turn the book so I can see these two edges, the top and bottom, to make sure I get it centered. It's a little high at the moment. That looks pretty good. That looks good. Okay, we're going to burnish this into place, and I'll be back in just a minute. We'll do the layers. All right, I'm back. I put my husband on dog duty, so hopefully I'll be able to finish this up. This is the 20-minute video that's going to take me a couple of hours to get done. So here's what I've done. I've fussy cut the lion out, and if you look at the lion, the total image of the lion, I left off the back feet, and I thought that would give it more dimension to make it look like it's actually coming toward you rather than raise the entire image. And the other one I wanted to point out is I did the same thing with Dorothy, where I only cut out the top part because I really want, when I layer it, for her legs to appear behind the dress. So that's what I've done on these two things. So I'm going to start by laying down the lion. And I just noticed that I didn't trim his foot off, but I didn't put any chipboard on the back, so I'll be able to trim that off later. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and get this down. And if you're looking at this, you'll wonder what I'm putting glue on. This is the chipboard pieces come on chipboard that you pop out. And I always take the leftovers and use them to pop my elements, because I like my elements to be stiff. Foam dots aren't very stiff, and I think this does a really good job. And I actually got this tip from Ginger Rob, who most of you probably have heard of. She's a pretty big name in this space. Okay, so now I'm just trying to line it up, make sure my images are all on top of each other. Okay, so there's my lion, so you can start to see some of the dimension. So now I've decided, because he is slightly behind the lion and slightly behind Dorothy, he's an element I'm not going to pop. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get this piece in. And as you can see, it's going to cover Dorothy's head. And the way I've solved that is by fussy cutting this. And I've double layered the chipboard on the bottom to compensate for the fact that her head is already raised by this element. So it'll actually be twice the height of the lion when it's finished. So the next thing we want to do is get in the Magic of Oz, since Dorothy's going to sit on top of that. And hopefully you guys will find this helpful. I don't usually go over this level of detail on my covers, but since I did something a little different and I double layered a few things and also didn't cut out the entire image, only part of the image, I wanted to go over it with you guys. So you could see what I did. I think it's easier to show you while I'm doing it than to try to explain it in the walkthrough. All right. So part of the original image was way up here, and my album wasn't going to be big enough. So the way I'm getting around it is I trimmed off a second one, and I'm going to nest it right under, right here. I think I like that. So I'm just holding it in place for a second. As I was walking walking you through, I've gone ahead and put down the Magic of Oz. It's in place, and as you can see, I covered up Dorothy's face. And the way I'm going to solve that is I'm going to place her right here. So I've changed the overlap. Now, because this is already raised, and this is raised, that's 2, I had to double the thickness here on the bottom part to offset for that. So I just want to point that out. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And that is pretty much, oh, and then I have to get the spine in. And that's pretty much it for the construction of the album. When I come back, I'll actually just be doing the walkthrough, and I'll point out the embellishments in the cards that I've made to go in some of the pockets. And I won't cover the construction of those. I'll just show you where I put them and give you a good look at them so you can replicate them if you like. Okay. So now I'm going to put her here. And just trying to, I'm going to have to shift this a little so that I'm directly over it to make sure my offsets are right. And I get the shadow effect that I'm looking for. And I am pretty happy with that. So now you can see kind of the depth that I created here by looking down the side. And again, she's twice the height as everything else on the page. And that's because she's already layered on a popped element. So that is pretty much the cover. So I'm going to go away and trim this off at some point. But right now we'll go ahead and do the last piece, which is the spine. And here's what I designed for the spine. So this is a Graphic 45 piece of hardware. And then I've added these charms. And if you buy the collection from us, we will include these charms. It's a balloon, a shoe, a scarecrow, and little dog Toto. And this is just glued directly onto this page. There is a screw that goes into the back, and I tried doing that, but it doesn't lay flush enough. So I just glued the lion's head directly to the spine piece, and I'll adhere this directly to the spine, and that's it for the outside of the book. I may come back and put a decorator strip on the back side. I'm not sure because the poppies are kind of busy already. I might just leave it as is. But if I do, I will cover that in the walkthrough. Okay, oops. I'm going to stand this on its end, and there's a lot of weight here, so you definitely have to stand it on its end while it's drying. Otherwise, the lion's going to pull it right back off. And that's what this is going to look like. And I'm really happy with the way this all turned out. So pretty. Sorry for all the interruptions today. Between my husband and the dog, I couldn't get anything done. So I think that's it for today. Any other additional embellishments that I do, I will cover in the walkthrough. I'm going to turn it on its side quickly and just remind everybody what the front looks like. So this is the Magic of Oz. That's the end of the tutorial series. I'll have a walkthrough. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And there'll be links for the cut list as well as links to all of the elements in this project in our shop. Thanks for tuning in. This is Daphne saying goodbye for now.